Let's talk some chess. So we all enjoy the gambit that is executed perfectly. You sacrifice some pieces and it leads to a winning advantage down the line. But sometimes gambits don't work out, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's game. This was played in 1861 in Berlin. Karl Mayet is playing with the white pieces, and Philipp Hirschfeld is playing with the black pieces. And we have Mayet opening with e4. Black responds with e5, and now we have the king's gambit, f4. So the idea here is you give up a pawn and hopefully get some compensation in the term of expansion, development, and an attack of your own. And black says, okay, let's go into it. He accepts the gambit, he takes the pawn, and now black is up a pawn, and white has to sort of make up for that lost pawn. These openings are not played in games today because sort of everyone at the highest level knows how to refute them, but certainly in lower level games, in blitz games, you might see these type of gambits, and they're definitely worth knowing how to win an advantage from them. Here, white plays knight to f3, and black immediately plays g5, so protecting this advanced pawn on f4. You know, black just got this pawn into position and wants to sort of keep the advantage. And here, white develops a bishop to c4, eyeing this f7 pawn. This is already not the best move for white. White here should play this h4 move, so challenging this pawn. You obviously can't take, well, you can take back, but then you're going to get rook or knight. Both seem okay to me. Rook is probably better. And if you push the pawn to g4, you get knight to e5, now threatening the g4 pawn, and after d6, kicking the knight, knight just takes on g4, and now the material is equal, and white has a knight that is developed. And you can trade it off with the bishop, but then the queen will take it back. So that was the proper move for white, to challenge this g5 pawn, but instead white develops a piece to c4, and who can blame, a good idea to develop a piece, so not the worst move in the world. Black develops a piece to bishop to g7, fianchettoing the bishop and grabbing hold of this long diagonal. And here, white plays d4. And this, again, is the idea behind the king's gambit. Get rid of one of black's central pawns, and now you have nice control over the center. White plays d6, and again here, the proper move was h4 for white. And then, after black kicks the knight, again, the knight comes to g5. And here you have to be really careful because the bishop and the knight are eyeing this f7 pawn. The only real way to defend it is playing knight to h6, which obviously defends the pawn, but then you have the dark squared bishop taking on f4, and now this is better for white. You have equal the material, you have these two central pawns, you have three pieces out and near the king, so this would be fine for white. But instead of playing h4, white plays c3. Not the best move. I'm not really sure what the idea here is. You add some support to your center. I guess you're, locking in this dark squared bishop even more, but this allows g4 by black. And now the problem is you can't play knight to g5 because there's no pawn on h4 supporting the knight. So if you played this, then the queen would just take, and black would be very happy. Instead, white here says, I'm already playing a gambit, let's forget the knight, I'm going to put the queen on b3 and create a battery with my queen and bishop on this weak f7 pawn. But black looks the position over and says, this is fine, I'm okay, I'm just going to take the knight with the pawn on f3, and allows this bishop to f7 check. So this looks very scary if you're playing with the black pieces, that you're under check, you have the queen and the bishop teaming up, but it's actually not scary at all, and black just plays king to f8, and this is completely fine. And here, white made really the losing move. I think this position is kind of equal. I think it's better for black, but it's kind of equal. But here, white needs to castle and get the king to safety. And after you castle, you might get queen to e7, now attacking this bishop and kicking it away. Bishop takes knight, rook takes, and now rook takes on f3, and you're threatening to take on f4 with check. So this would be okay. But instead of castling, white plays the really inexcusable bishop takes on g8. The same idea, but just a move too early. And the problem now is when the rook takes back, you now have the rook on this very important g file. So now when white castles, which white does, the rook is lined up with the enemy king, and that is not good. So right away, black jumps into it with bishop to g4. This comes with check, and you are sacrificing the bishop, so white does take the bishop back, but now you get the immediate rook takes on g2 with check. the pawn is obviously protecting the rook, and now the white king is in trouble. So there's only one square that the king can move to, and it's h1, but now see if you can find the winning move, the winning combination for black, while I give you a moment. Okay, hopefully you found the proper sacrifice. So you've already sacked the bishop on d4, but now the way to end the game is rook takes on h2 with check. And this is just totally devastating. There's nothing you can do here other than accept the sacrifice. If you play king to g1, then you just get queen to g5 check, and well, we'll get into kind of the pattern. Then you would be, if you play rook to g1, then you're just going to be forced to take the rook anyways, because the queen comes to g5, and now you're forced to take the rook. So instead, white just takes the rook right away with king to h2. But now you get the queen coming into the game with queen to h4 check, and this is going to be it for white. So there's only one square for the king to move to. Amazingly, these two squares are taken by the pawns. The queen is taking the h file, so the king has to retreat to g1. But now you get queen to g3, and the problem here is that this f3 pawn, which is being a superstar for black, is preventing the white queen from racking up any sort of defense. So the king here has to move to h1, and then you get the final blow, queen to g2, checkmate. The pawn is protecting the queen, the king is backed into a corner, quite literally, and all of these pieces are just unable to come to the defense of the white king. So a great game, well, maybe not a great game, but a fun counter gambit of the queen's gambit, and it goes to show that sometimes, the king's gambit, goes to show that sometimes a scary attack with the white pieces can be countered really quickly with the black pieces, and you always have to be careful, because what looks like a winning position can fall apart before your eyes. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Drop a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.